Okay, solving radical equations.
Okay.
So this is the most basic of a radical equation. Okay? So this is called a square root. To take the square root of something, you usually square it. Like we square 4. So like 4 squared is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. They're inverses. Kind of like multiplying and dividing are inverses, adding and subtracting are inverses, squaring something and taking the square root of something are inverses. So what I want to show you is, now you don't have to do this next step, but I want to show you what you're doing. So here is your problem, and then you're going to take your problem and you're going to square both sides. Because when you square both sides, it undoes or reverses the square root. So if you square the square root of x, you're left with x. And then you're going to do 3 squared. So what is 3 times 3? 9. So the square root of 9 equals 3. That's perfect. And this is your answer. So to get rid of the square root, we're going to square both sides.
Okay.
What is 30 times 30?
I don't understand.
What is 30 times 30? It's 900. Because 3 times 3 is 9. And you add 2 zeros. So, to undo a square root, you square both sides. Okay. Oops. We're going to use the same philosophy that we just did in example 1 and 2. We're going to square both sides. Now, you guys, when you square a square root, it takes the square root off. Like they cancel each other out. It doesn't mean you double anything inside. You leave what's inside the same. So when I square the square root of n plus 2, I'm left with n plus 2. I'm left with what's ever underneath that radical. And then what's 11 times 11? And now, do you think we're done? We got to get the n by itself, right? We have to solve for n. So how would I solve for n? I'm adding already, so what's the inverse of adding? Yep, so we're going to subtract the 2 from both sides. So I was adding 2, so the inverse of adding 2 would be subtracting 2. These 2 cancel out, and I'm left with n equals, what is 121 minus 2? 119? And that's our answer. So you guys, if we put 119 in for n, right? 119 plus 2 is, so let me show you how I worked it out. So 119 plus 2 is 121. What is the square root of 121? 11. That's how you know we did it right. So this is n. If you plug in n, you get 100, and when you add that to 2, you get 121. You take the square root, you get 11. How are we doing so far? Okay, this will be our last example on this video. Okay. What do you think we're going to do? You notice that the first step, have I changed this first step at all? Is it the same whether you have something underneath the radical, like more than just a variable underneath the radical? That first thing, we always do the same. Okay, now what am I going to do? So if I'm subtracting 3, I'm going to add 3. Remember, you always start, when you're solving an equation, you always start with your adding and subtracting. So I was subtracting 3, so the inverse of subtracting 3 is adding 3. Then what are we going to do? Divide by? You guys, 5 doesn't go evenly into 52. So just leave it as 52 over 5.